On the Screws Podcast, episode number 99. This episode is sponsored by our friends over at True Classic, trueclassictees.com. Head over there, pick up yourself a fundamental polo or one of the chino packs. Go right from work, right to the course. You're going to look great. You're going to feel great. You're going to play great. Using the promo code OTS Golf, you will get 25% off plus free shipping right to your door. trueclassictees.com, promo code OTS Golf, 25% off plus free shipping right to your door. Enjoy the pod.
3 shots per par, I just do 2. 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woohoo. New driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into, start right, good line, good view, it drew, shoot and make Gavin.
All right. Episode 99, Wayne Gretzky, hockey episode. I like it. Yeah. This week we got Dan Stewart. I know you as Stewy, that's how I was introduced with golf, but developmental goalie coach of the St. Louis Blues. Brycer's here as our hockey expert. You guys have a bit of a past together, so we can jump right into it. Dan, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Episode 99. I can't believe it, Bryce. We made it, man.
Yeah, a couple Sault Ste. Marie ties there. Me, Dan, and Wayne Gretzky right there.
Pretty
Fair
much
enough.
3 of the same guys.
Just
there.
lump them all together.
Yeah, same skill level between all 3 of us.
So Dan and I met. Okay, I guess I'll give my story, Bryce, and then you can give yours. So Dan and I met with our kind of like our Wednesday league. I think we were playing a Wednesday, and it was me, you, and Wes out there as our match play champ. So congrats, Wes. Just beat Corey the other day, but I played awful. I don't think any of us played our best. I hoselled 2 balls in a row on the same hole after like a 320-yard drive. So nothing new for my game, but yeah, we had a really good time, and then we were kind of chatting afterwards, just having a beer, and figured, you're on your way down to St. Louis, so always good. We've had a couple hockey pods now, like we had Cole Perfetti on, a couple hockey players here and there over the time, so it's always nice to kind of chat and kind of play. It's something that Bryce is into as well, and I played a little bit of hockey, so it's always good to have that connection, but we thought we'd have to have you on. So we met at Port Hope Golf and Country Club, where you grew up there, right, Dan?
Yeah. I grew up, born and raised in Port Hope, played minor hockey there, and then moved back there in 2009.
Okay. So in the off season, are you here? Like, are you here most summers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the job has me all over the place in the summer scouting and stuff and development camp. So I'm in and out and can't really play golf there with any consistency.
Right.
Do you do any camps or stuff at back home during the summer, or just all scouting and development stuff?
Since I got this job, one of the beauties of it is I'm paid year round.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to do those camps anymore like I did for basically 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I still jump on with good friends. Like Dave Delecki is a good friend of mine that owns a goalie school in Toronto called The Crease. Yep. So I jump out with him usually like 3 times a summer just to go and spend some time around him and give a shout out to the kids and stuff like that. So he was really good to me when I moved back and gave me a lot of work when I moved from Connecticut back to Ontario and didn't have any clients. So I just like to help him out, and he's been a good friend of mine since we were both 16. So
nice.
Now you guys met when Bryce was playing in the Sioux, right, Bryce?
Yeah, playing or watching. Yeah, either one.
Yeah. Well, you were like the rubber man for the goalies in
yeah,
practice,
I was,
right? Yeah.
Stewie liked me because I always showed up for practice because I'd always be a healthy scratch, so I'd always come shoot for him.
100%, and you were a good shooter with skill, so it was great.
Yeah, don't get much better than me for working on goalies, just picking them apart. No, I'm just kidding.
So then, why weren't you playing?
I just didn't have it, man. I just never had it.
Yeah, it's well, when we were talking, we were kind of connecting the dots, like Stewie and I, through. I think one of the first things you had said is that you were at St. Louis, and then you guys had, I think it was when the cart girl went by, she was friends with your Peterborough prospect right now.
Will Cranley. He's from Peterborough, but he was playing in Ottawa, and now he's playing in Flint.
Right, okay. Oh, nice. And then when I heard Flint, I guess that's where you started, right, Bryce?
Well, I started in Plymouth, but I played in Flint. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, you're still on the bus, aren't you, in Flint?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so we got kind of talking, and then that's how we kind of connected the dots. You guys spent, I think, 1 year together. So, which is, pretty cool. So, maybe take us back, Dan. How did you get, like, anybody listening, thank you for obviously following us over at OTS Golf on Instagram, episode 99. So we always like to kind of mix it up a little bit. So it is a bit of a golf pod, but we're going to get into some hockey here. Can you kind of take us back and how you got started with your hockey career, like even playing before?
Well, like I said, I grew up in Port Hope, Ontario, and just played minor hockey there. Back then, you had to play wherever you lived, so there was no option to go play AAA. So after Bantam, I went and played Junior A on the Cobourg Cougars, the town next door. Then I was drafted into the OHL, played a little bit in the OHL, very little bit. I was like third goalie, backup a little bit, but fairly early on in that process in the OHL, I realized that I was coaching goalies in the summer for a goalie school, and I realized that I enjoyed it and that I had a certain connection with the kids. And I knew then that there was a good chance that it was what I was going to do instead of play. So I went to St. Mary's University in Halifax and played there for 3 years and graduated. And I moved to Connecticut and started a goalie school called the Connecticut Crease. And what I did is I built a mini rink on synthetic ice and just like did private lessons and built a business kind of one goalie at a time. And before I knew it, it became pretty big because there was nobody else doing it in that area. So I would have goalies come from, up from Long Island. I would have goalies coming from Pennsylvania, goalies all over New England. And eventually I was also, doing some NCAA guys and whatnot. You just kind of develop a bit of a following. And then in 2009, I moved back home and kind of started from scratch again, and was lucky enough to get on with the Cobourg Cougars as the goalie coach, and then get on in the Sioux. And then eventually it led to this job here with the Blues.
Right on. Now, is there any, I guess, like, I know I actually coached the year, I played a little bit goalie, much better coach. I'm like, maybe like Ken Hitchcock or something, former St. Louis club, but definitely a better coach than it would be a player. And I did a year. I coached like a year of, I think it was AA or something, goalie. So it was fun. Like when we went away to tournaments and stuff, it was great. It was a good time. And I remember having to do like some, coaches training and stuff. But obviously at your level, it'd be a bit more advanced. Is there anything that you're doing to like update your skills yearly? Obviously the game has changed, like even since I played when I was younger. The game has changed immensely. So do you just kind of like our golf game, we're completely updating it all the time? Is it the same with hockey?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not growing in this position and staying up to date while sticking to the core principles of it, you're in trouble because the game will pass you by really quickly. So I do things like, part of me going to spend that time with Dave Delecki on ice is to talk to another goalie coach that I respect about what's going on in the game. I'm very lucky to have David Alexander as the goalie coach of the St. Louis Blues. And he and I talk, multiple times a week throughout the year. And we have a really good working relationship where we're constantly bouncing ideas off one another about what we're seeing and what we think the game is going to kind of evolve into next. Picking up trends in what the goalies are doing, that both good and bad, and what our thoughts are on them. And then we implement it into what we're doing with the goalies, again, while sticking to the core principles that have been key to goaltending since I was a kid.
Yeah, I think it's also cool, and I know Daniel attests to this too. Just from personal experience, seeing different goalie coaches kind of throughout my career, no one's the same either. Like all goalie coaches will preach the same basic things, but have their own little way of teaching the goalies on how to play and kind of the little nuances and stuff. So I think that's really interesting about when you jump from team to team, see how different it is.
Yeah, and I find I liken it to, we'll do a golf analysis here, or a golf comparison where, say, a guy like Jim Furyk has a very unique swing that works for him. And had somebody taken that swing completely away early on and beaten it out of him, he may never have been the golfer that he is, because that swing worked well for him. So one of the things that I try to stress very hard when I'm working with the goalies is we stick to the core principles, but we try to make you the best version of you. And that doesn't mean that you're going to look like every other goalie.
Are you always late for your tee times? Can't keep pace on the course? or standing over the ball way too long, thinking that this time it's going to be different. Quick pause from today's episode to bring you a note from today's sponsor, the Vincero Collective. If you're looking for the perfect accessory to keep you on time for a limited time only, get 20% off plus free shipping site-wide. Support the pod with our exclusive code OTSG at thevincerocollective.com. Never be late for a tea time again. Well, because you mentioned Jim Furyk, and then I was talking about Tony Finau and how he had a, he had a 60 the other day, a course record, but he lipped out 3 or 4 putts, and he was on like a 55 watch. And Jim Furyk, I think, don't quote me on this, but might be the only 58 in PGA Tour history. Does that sound right to you, Bryce? Yeah. So
I believe so, yeah.
Kind of amending swings and stuff like that would be very difficult. Like, those are two very different. Tony Finau has a ton of speed. So when you mentioned like the different goalies and kind of what you're doing with them, are you working like one-on-one? Or are you working with a group of the guys on, whether you're in Springfield or St. Louis or wherever it is? Because I remember talking to you and you were saying you're only really on the ice for an hour, and then, you've got a full work week with everything that you're doing off ice as well. I guess I'm kind of curious, is it more, unique kind of one-on-one training, or are you kind of getting the guys together and working on it as a group?
So it's actually both. Usually before practice, I'm out there 20 minutes to a half hour before with the goalies, as well as a couple shooters and one assistant coach. And during that 20 minutes to a half hour, we tend to have a set of core drills that we do, core skating drills and core working on some entries and recoveries and things like that we will repeat a lot. And it's kind of like Groundhog Day, and the guys will sometimes joke about it, but I believe in that type of repetition because it helps a lot. But then also we will do some individualized work, and that tends to be after practice, where I will design a drill with one of the goalies with a certain skill in mind, and it's more game like scenarios for that stuff, and we will go over it and just how that goalie wants to play it, and how I think they should play it. And there's a lot of communication that goes on there, and we come to a lot of solutions together, because I also believe that the goalie has to believe in what they're doing and have full conviction in order for it to work. The worst thing I can do is put them in a scenario where they're not comfortable and say, well, you have to play it this way. And they don't believe in it, because then it doesn't matter how they play it, it's not going to work. So that's the individual part. But then video is huge for the individual part. Mm-hmm. So each game, we have a video coach that tags events. So every shot attempt on net is tagged as a shot on goal. And then I go through all those events after the game and pick through certain ones that I want to go over with the goalie, put them kind of in a folder. And then the next day, the goalie and I will go through those things together. And in my younger days, it was a lot of me telling the goalie what I thought about each scenario and what I think they should do and how I think they should play it, and, what they did wrong and right. And as I've gotten older, and the goalies have changed a little bit as well, but now I find there's a lot more of me asking them what they thought in this scenario, or what they saw in this scenario, or why they did what they did. And I found that it helps teaching, and it helps me understand where the goalies come from better as well. It makes me better at my job, but it really helps things sink in when we have that approach where we're doing it a little bit more together. So after each game, I do that with each goalie, whichever one played. And it's just kind of part of our routine. We go over the handles, we go over the shots, we go over what reads I saw. We obviously go over the goals, and how we think we can play them next time going forward.
Yeah, I always thought Raymakers was really good at that when we played. Like, he was always very hands-on with the, hey, I want to do this, hey, I should have done that. With you, kind of like, I was kind of in the background when I was shooting, but listening to kind of like your conversations. I know he was like a prime example of kind of what you explained on how he would realize what he did wrong, and then he'd come to you about it instead of you saying, hey, you need to do this. I just kind of think he was really good at that when I play with him.
Yeah, Joseph's a special guy, man. He's one of my all-time favorites. He is just a really, really good human being. But to your point, he had a good understanding of his game and of his strengths and of his weaknesses. And one of the things that I said to Ray right away when we started working was, I'm not going to overcoach you. I am not going to come in and fix every problem for you. There are times where I'm going to make you stay in the net and sort it out on your own. Because he had at that point, he had been in the OHL for 2 years and had 2 different goalie coaches. I was his 3rd goalie coach in 3 years. And I just said to him, I am not going to fill your head with a bunch of stuff about how I think you need to do this. And this is the answer. And that's the answer. I'm like, you have all kinds of stuff that you have worked on with good goalie coaches in the past. Both those goalie coaches went on to work in the NHL and still are, John Elkin and Colin Zulianello. And I just really wanted Ray to have a free mind in there and just rely on some of the good things that he had been taught. And obviously I added some stuff to what we were doing as well. But I really worked hard at making sure I let him be in net and come to his own conclusions on a lot of those scenarios and work through, because again, I believe that that's going to have him come up with the solution that's going to stick versus me just telling him what to do every time.
Yeah, and I know you're in a different role now with St. Louis, but kind of just going back to the Sioux, how rewarding is it seeing these guys kind of work their way through the ranks and kind of make that next jump to that next league and then another after that? That's got to be huge for your confidence and just feel so rewarding, right?
Well, it's why I do what I do, right? Because you feel like you've helped that person in some way achieve the goal. Usually it's a small part because that person's doing all the work. But that year, Matthew Villalta got drafted 3rd round to LA that year. And that was just a massive thing for him. And it was something for me where I was like, you know what, I can work at this level. And I do work with these guys in a way that, some other people's will notice. And yeah, when you see them get what they're working towards and you've played a small part in it, it's definitely rewarding. I'll also say, when I work with a peewee goalie and there's that moment between you and that young goalie where something that they've struggled with clicks and you're there for it, and
it's hard to beat that feeling.
That moment where you kind of look at each other and say, oh, there it is. That's why I do what I do. So whether it's with an AHL goalie, an NHL goalie, or a peewee goalie, that moment is kind of the moment I strive for.
Do you Stewie, do you keep in touch with some of the guys? Like, because I was saying, as a goalie growing up, like, so it's kind of a small community, and it's, you always kind of chat, or when you go to a rink, do you kind of go over and find some of the guys that you might have coached in the past?
Oh, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
I've still get invited to their weddings and college graduations and all kinds of different scenarios. It's really cool. Just today I was on the ice with a guy that played in Ontario with Matt Villalta last year, and I fired Matty a text just to let him know that that he said he was a good guy and stuff, and that's all part of it, right? You do keep in touch. Now, once they're in other organizations and whatnot, you don't keep regular contact with them or anything, because they have their own goalie coach and they have very good goalie coaches. But every once in a while, I'll touch base with somebody that I've worked with in the past. And mostly it's the younger goalies that I worked with through minor hockey and stuff, where you have some longer relationships with them.
All right, I posted. I'm gonna ask this quick because I posted a question in our Instagram, and I just checked. I had 2 responses, and well, the first 2 were, "Why are goalies so weird?" It's something
Well,
that I know you've heard it. Yeah, I know you've heard it before, but yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it's a position where you're isolated right from the get-go, and you're treated differently by others from a very young age. So then you tend to focus on different things than the rest of the group, and that can come off as weird sometimes. The other thing that in my opinion that goalies face is we're often a product of our environment with respect to what happens in the game, and our individual play can't really be judged in a lot of times by how many goals did or didn't go in. Right. There are times where I've seen a goalie make all kinds of mistakes and get a shutout, and other times I'll go watch a goalie let in 5 and they actually were quite good.
Yeah, I think it's a little misconstrued too. I mean, I've never really met a goalie that I can't spend more than like an hour with. I mean, most of my goalies have been fantastic guys and completely normal. I just think it's that typical stereotype that
Yeah.
they're all weird, but I'll run with it. I'll keep it going, but I don't really think most goalies are weird.
I think it's just the idea that you'll stand in the net and get puck shot at you, right?
Oh
But
yeah,
tons of equipment, you're fine. I never had any issues with it, but yeah, some of the, like, I remember a couple games that like stick out to me specifically. I remember playing high school hockey, like one of our first games that we won. I think we won 6-5, and I had like 79 saves or something. Like it was, and it was just like it's one of the best games I played when I let in 5 goals, right? So it's kind of hard to, I don't know. It was our first win ever as a high school hockey team, I believe. So it's just one of those things where it's like, the outcome, kind of like in golf, right? You can strike it really well and still have a rough round. I wanted to
100%.
ask, I wanted to ask you, sorry, Stewie, about game simulation because you mentioned it quickly there before. Anything you guys are doing specifically? So like, we'll go to the range, and then say you kind of advance onto that next level, like Blaker's playing in tournaments and stuff like that. Bryce's younger brother, or some of the guys that we've had on PGA Tour Canada, and they might go out for like a Monday qualifier and then they'll play a Wednesday practice round, that kind of stuff. Are you doing that type of stuff morning of the game, or how are you simulating game situations for your guys?
Well, for me, obviously, like goaltending is a position of patterns when we're talking about the rush and some of the in zone stuff. So those patterns are repeated a lot in practice because we want our players to be attacking in certain ways, and most teams do it very similar. So pattern recognition for the goalies off the rush comes a lot from seeing it in practice. Same in zone, but there are other things that we will do after practice where I will simulate. Actually, work with Daniel Kachuk, who's our forward coach. He and I will work together to come up with drills based on what I'm hoping the goalies want to get better, or sorry, what I want the goalies to get better at for that day, and then also what he wants the forwards to work at on that day. And we come up with a drill that suits both those needs, and then we will run it, and that's how we will simulate a lot of game situations that are specific. But all in all, like the practices do simulate the rushes and the in zone and a lot of the patterns that the goalies will see. And I find that helps a lot.
Sorry, go ahead, Brycer.
yeah. Just to kind of jump onto that, that comment. I remember we used to do that all the time with Don McLean. Like he would set up a drill for us, and we'd shoot on the goalies. And don't get me wrong, I am trying 100% every time to score on these goalies, and I don't care what scenario it is. And I think that kind of adds to Stewie's point of making it game like, because all those drills are game like situations, and I am trying to score. And I think the goalies kind of see those opportunities and those chances, and it kind of relates to game like atmosphere. So just kind of to jump onto what he said.
Yeah, that's like where I was going with that is like I was at the range earlier today, first time I practiced in a long time. I felt like I couldn't miss, and then I go to the course and like things are completely different, right, all the
Yeah.
time. So that's one of the things where I feel like as you become a professional, it's like being able to translate kind of what you're doing in practice and everything that you're working on, and being able to like take that to the next level with the game, right? I think that probably translates to most other sports, just like
Yeah,
hockey
it's
as well.
it's no different than trying to go on the range and visualize a fairway or a green and say I'm going to hit this one in 87. It's
Yeah.
the same thing as practicing game. You know what I mean? Just different sport.
Yeah, and I think you also have to make sure that your mindset translates. So while you're working on something in a session, it's important that when time comes to play, you just play. So on the golf course, you shouldn't be thinking about how you're swinging. You should be thinking about what shot you're trying to execute. And when you're playing hockey, whether it's in net or forward or defenseman, when you're on the ice in a game, if you're thinking about anything other than reading what's coming at you or what's in front of you or what you're trying to accomplish, and you're thinking about how you're skating, or you're thinking about how you're stomping or how you're going to shoot the puck and technical stuff, it's over, it's done.
Mhm.
So for me, golf, the time on the range is the time to put that work in, and then the time on the course is to just go play and execute your shots and focus on what shots you're going to play, and that work on the range will come out naturally. And it's the same in hockey for the goalie, we put all that work in, and when the game comes, you just trust your reads and you play, and you don't think about any of that work. You just let it come out naturally.
Yeah, I think I don't know. For me, I think that's what kind of separates a lot of athletes and a lot of like really good players is I don't know, being able to separate the two and be mentally ready for the game, right? But I definitely want to talk a little bit about some golf. We're recording on, what is it today? Monday, September 19th. So, happy birthday, Rick DiPietro. I don't know how that popped up, but I was looking up some stuff earlier. So, Rick DiPietro is kind of, I don't know, one of the biggest, like he's got one of the biggest contracts in NHL history still, or 13 years or something, right? So, we're in conversation with Dan Stewart, developmental goalie coach with the St. Louis Blues. Let's talk some golf, Stewie. So we met playing golf. When did you get into playing? Were you in Port, like you grew up in Port Hope? Were you playing there years ago?
I grew up there, but did not play there. So the course was 9 holes when I was a kid. And, guys like Johnny and Wes and Kevin Gunter and Brad Pember, they all played that golf course growing up. I never was really into golf. I just played ball and hockey. And then when around the same time that I kind of recognized that playing hockey wasn't going to be my future. So I was around 20 that I picked up my dad's clubs and went to the range and just kind of tried to figure it out. And one of the things that's funny about me is I play golf right, but I putt left. And the reason for that is I hit left in baseball, I shoot left in hockey. But when it came time to play golf, my dad's clubs are right-handed. Mm-hmm. So I played right. So I had to figure out how to be on that, from my opinion, at the time, the wrong side of the ball and hit it. And it was a little bit of an event. And then when I graduated from St. Mary's University in 2000 and I moved down to Connecticut, that's when I started really getting the itch. Because beside my rink, like across the street, there was a driving range. And before or after work every day, I would just go hit balls. And then I started playing more and more and more. And I realized how much I really love it.
It's infectious, right? Like the game is so infectious. I was talking with the guys the other day about somebody else who does that. Somebody else who plays in our Wednesday league, actually, I think hits right and putts left. I know Hazy does from Overdrive. He does the same. He's like right-handed golfer, putts left-handed. But that's is it like, is it that much different for you? Can you turn it over and putt right if you need to now?
So the thing with me when I'm on the right, well, when I'm putting left, is I feel like I have touch.
Okay.
If I putt right, I have absolutely zero idea how far it's going to go. I can get it on a line, but I have no touch whatsoever.
I don't know, man. That looked like us the round that we played. I don't
Maybe I should start putting.
What's that?
Maybe I should start putting left.
Yeah, it might be. It might just like lefties are. I don't know. I think we're all just kind of like a little bit of we're like the goalies of the golf course, right? We're a little bit more, a little bit more creative out there, and there's a lot more feel, right? Like obviously with Phil, and we get, Mike Weir, all those like really good players with a lot of touch. But yeah, the day that we played, I don't know. None of us had any touch, and I know Wes had his club stolen or something before that, so he got him back, which is awesome. So. Yeah. Like pretty crazy story, but he pretty much got all of them back, which is great. But yeah, like golf is just kind of, for me, it's become, and Bryce too, I think we're like chasing the shot, right? Like Bryce likes to fill out the scorecard, me not so much, but like especially on a day like the way that we were striking it. But would you say like you're not playing ball anymore, pretty much just golf in the off season now?
Yeah, like I played softball maybe till I was 40. And then just golf. And even men's league hockey, like I would rather be on a golf course than play men's league hockey any day.
Yeah, it's funny, the last men's league hockey game and the last softball game I played, I dislocated my shoulder in both of those, so that was it. So just golf for me now. That's it. But
you ever strap them up at all anymore, Stu?
Last year I had to go in for maybe 3 or 4 practices.
Oh no.
And I can still make saves with my hands, but my feet aren't great.
Yeah.
My last year in the Sioux, I had to go in a lot. Probably like 10 times I had to go in, and it was actually really fun. But when you're out there in the American League, and you were never good enough to play in the American League when you were young and in shape, it becomes that much harder when you're 45 years old and not in shape.
Yeah, I could imagine.
All right, we made it through 9, and this glizzy is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped, manscaped.com. You can go over, check out the Ultra Premium Collection, or anything that you need to not suffer through the back 9 here. Using the promo code OTS Golf, you will get 20% off plus free shipping. And maybe you'll go low on the back. Thank you for supporting the episode. Thank you for supporting the pod. Manscaped.com, 20% off using the promo code OTS Golf. Free shipping right to your door. Enjoy the pod. We were kind of talking about you having to strap them up. We're gonna see an EBUG in your future at all, Stewie? Because I know Dave Ayers is a member at Lindsay. I don't know if you've ever met Dave, but yeah, he's a member up at Lindsay. So I know that was a big hoop. But you know, like you said, strapping it up with the guys in the AHL or whatever, that'd be tough. I feel like, I don't know, are you a stand up guy or are you a butterfly? You get down there much at all?
Well, probably like 2 years ago, my right ankle started bugging me, so I don't get up very well. I'll go down, but I don't get up so high. So I tend to stand up a little more now than I did 3 or 4 years ago. But I used to be like down. I'd be in my RVH. I would do all of it with the guys. But now I'm on my feet way more.
Yeah, and it's wicked how hard it is. It's like I used to when I played in Plymouth and we'd our season was over and I'd have to stay back for high school. We had to finish high school. We'd skate every day and I'd always strap them up because we had one of our goalies that was in high school with us. So he'd always skate out and I'd always strap him up. Probably at least like 3 days a week of our 5 skates. And it's so hard, man. I can't even explain to you, like, as being a player, how hard it is to play goalie. And I couldn't even imagine going in against like that with that much speed and stuff in the game.
Oh, it'd be wild. It'd be nuts. You put the skates on too? You put like goalie skates on?
No. I'd wear my own skates. I wasn't going through that much, but
it's funny.
I'd go full gear.
It's funny you mentioned EBUG because I did do it once in Hartford, but I was like 28 years old, and I got a phone call from a guy whose son came for lessons for me, and his brother was the coach of San Antonio. And he was like, "Hey, Dan, just giving you a call here, sitting in the San Antonio locker room and wondering if you can come here and EBUG tonight. Dave Lenevia pulled his back out in the game day skate." So I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go to the rink and they come in. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to pass like the physical to be allowed in this game, right? The doctor comes over. I'm like, oh boy, this could be it. But they obviously let me take warm up. And in Hartford, you're not on the bench. So I'm like sitting in this tunnel.
In the corner, right?
Yeah, I've got like a package of runts in my hand and I'm just like watching the game. And Carl Goring was the goalie for San Antonio. He's a smaller guy. And like 2 minutes into the game, he gets hit and he is like on his back in the corner.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Here we go.
So he gets up, whatever, all's well. So the trainer comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, like you stayed pretty calm there. Like you're not even in your own equipment," because they had the 11-inch pad rule had just come in. So he's like, "You're not even in your own equipment. And like, if you had to go in this game, that would have been pretty hard." I'm like, "Buddy, if I had to go there into this game, there's problems that go way beyond what equipment I'm
wearing." So you didn't end up having to play? Like he toughed it out. He's able to stay in?
Not only did he tough it out, he went 50 of 51 and we won 2-1.
Wow.
Oh, man.
That's unreal.
Who was the goalie?
Yeah. Carl Goring is his name.
Wow, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
I remember when that rule came in and it was a big thing because that was like Jiggy was like he had just won the Conn Smythe in like I think 03 or something like that, and that was like part of it. It must have been shortly after that because I remember kind of watching that and like that's when gear was like really heavily scrutinized because he was a big guy wearing big gear and he had like a couple of pretty big games too. I think he had like, you know, a 50 save game and stuff like that in the NHL finals and stuff. And then he's one of only few guys to win the Conn Smythe as a losing player. But man, that is wild. That is good. I would be so scared, man. I would be absolutely terrified. Like
the pads came right up to my waist too, boys. They were like, Lenevi's a big guy. They were so big on me. And I came out, I had like brand new Reebok stuff that was And I was like, oh, I'll just wear this. They won't care because I'm just the EBUG. Get there, they're like, you cannot wear that. Oh
What
boy,
about when Crisp had to go in with Erie?
that was
Remember
crazy.
that? That was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, I do remember that. And they gave him all 3 stars of the game.
I know. I think he let in like 11 or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That happened with a buddy of mine. I don't know if he's listening, but I know Rich went in for. I think it was for me. I got like hit and I dislocated my shoulder in a game. That's a heavy trend for me, but in like a high school game, and I was like out playing the puck. I think I got crunched or something, dislocated my shoulder, had to come out, and he put the gear on and he went in. I think he like let in 15 or something like that, but he had a good time. It was man, but that like I still can't get over that feeling. Like that would be absolutely terrifying. Like I don't know how, if we're to translate that to golf, like I don't know what would give us that same feel. Maybe like first tee of like, you know, playing in like a pro-am or something like that, and you got like Tiger Woods standing behind you or something. It would be absolutely terrifying. But
well, I kind of felt like that on the first tee at Bethpage when I went down and played there.
Nice, you played Bethpage. That's sweet.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, Anthony, was just there the other day. Same guy, Bryce, that played Arcadia Bluffs, and yeah, it's a pretty cool track. It's I don't know, one of the nicest ones. Is that one kind of on your list? Like, have you got to play many down in that area?
So is Arcadia the one like near Traverse City?
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny. I just got back from Traverse City, and our equipment manager and I were talking about if the opportunity ever came up to go play there, that we would. And that tournament is so busy. There's so much going on in it that we just weren't able to do it. But it's definitely on my list that I'd love to go play.
I got another recommendation for you if you go up that way. I had my bachelor party on Little Traverse Lake. It's called. It's like 30 minutes northwest, I believe, of Traverse City. There's a course called Manitou Passage, and it is stunning. It's really nice.
Now, did you ever play at Boyne?
No, my boss is actually going up there this weekend to play in a big golf tournament there, like his buddies. But
there are it's a group of courses. They're unreal. I've gone there 3 times to play it.
Yeah, I'll go play it sooner or later.
Do you guys have really good? Do you guys have like a team tournament? Like I know a lot of the and I've been seeing like a ton of the guys. Colorado just did like they were just doing a match against the 4-play guys, which was pretty cool. Or with the 4-play guys, I haven't watched it yet, and I know New York Islanders did. So obviously a lot of golfers are hockey players, and vice versa, really. But do you guys have a tournament? You guys have like a St. Louis Blues tournament, or wherever you are?
I think they just did an outing with the Blues because it was on Twitter where they were showing some of the boys doing Happy Gilmore and stuff. And in Springfield, I know there's a really nice golf course just outside of Springfield called the Ranch. It's in Westfield, Mass. And the boys, we usually have an outing where they all go and play. It's not a tournament per se, but where they all make sure that they're available the one day and they all go.
That's pretty cool. I know it's I don't know, it kind of like it seems like every hockey player, it's like synonymous. We play some golf and vice versa, right? So it's if you're not good at it, you got to learn it, because it just seems like kind of a pastime, right, in the summer. But thanks so much, Dan. This was awesome. Dan Stewart, developmental goalie coach of the St. Louis Blues. Before we let you go, fantasy draft next Sunday. Give me a couple of guys before we go, or Brycer's probably got one too.
Goalies?
I don't know.
Period.
Let's go goalies. Any I know you can't. I don't know. Where's I guess Binnington would be your guy this year, huh?
Durkin?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Binner's set up to have a big year this year. He's such a competitive guy, and he works so hard. I think he's going to have a big year this year for sure.
What did you ever think anything that Justin Bieber Binnington like showdown that they were going to have? Did you hear about that, Bryce?
Yeah, I wish it never happened, did it?
No, but like
I wish it did. It would have been awesome.
I think it was like Bieber was saying that he thought that he could score in 10 shots. He thought that he could score
That's
once.
exactly what it was. Like, I'm pretty sure Benner was like, you won't score once.
There's absolutely zero chance that he would score a goal on Jordan Binnington, man. It wouldn't even be close. It would be so bad. It would be, yeah. Like, I don't want to say he's a terrible hockey player. Like, you know, he seemed like a pretty good, like, Canadian, you know, probably grew up playing hockey, but yeah. Bennington's one of the best players.
That's like us going into a long drive competition.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
You know what? A competition with DeChambeau. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
I don't know. Bryce did say that he could outdrive.
We're not gonna go over this again, are we?
Ryan Gregnoll, he's the Canadian long drive champ, and Bryce thought that he could. No, but Bryce hits a long ball, so you never know.
Give me a month.
Yeah,
give me
you
a
never.
month
Hey,
and a 49-inch driver, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think you get Brycer swinging a 48. Well, you've seen his wind up, Stewie. I'm sure he'd get it out there pretty far. Like I know.
Yeah, he used to pick his goalies apart.
There wasn't much of a wind up though. He had the quick release.
Yeah, I didn't need a wind up. Still got it. Putting up like 5 or 6 in men's league every night. You just don't.
I love it.
It's unfair. It's unfair. But thanks so much, Stewie. This was great, man. It's nice to kind of change it up, talk a little hockey, a little golf. But yeah, maybe after the season's done, we'll get you on when you're a Stanley Cup champ, and yeah, we'll have a chat and see how the season went.
100%. Let's do it. I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a blast. Good luck with everything going forward, man. I hope it really takes off for you guys and that we get to do it again.
All right, Stewie, take care. Thank you.
Thanks,
Perfect.
He's out in my ball in the course, so I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross, worst case scenario.